Okay, welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Uncensored, you guys. We have got an amazing show. We have Miss Bernice Ross. She is a legend, a myth, and a mystery woman of all kinds of talents. We are going to be talking with her about scripts, why your script flopped, how to get more clients with better scripting. We have the evil bald ninja, Mr. Gene Volpe, here to drop knowledge bombs on us, as always, when it comes to all things marketing. So first, Miss Bernice, I want to say welcome back to the show. She's a returning guest, and I appreciate it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here today.
Oh my gosh, we were having so much fun bantering off air that I can only imagine what we're going to get ourselves into when we actually get into this. She sent us homework. Gene failed epically to do his homework. Slap yourself on the hand, Gene. Bad boy. You don't get ice cream tonight after dinner. All right, Bernice. Let's let him do his,
I think
his thing.
he gets the Slacker Squared Award for the week.
I like it.
This is why we don't have nice things, Gene. This is why we don't have nice things.
That's why you sound like my wife now, Greg.
Anyways, all right, let's get into scripting. Bernice, you sent us an article from Inman, and it went through, I think, 14 or 15.
Yeah, that went through on September 19th, I think, and it was trending. And it was up until yesterday in the top 5. So that's a very long time to be on top at Inman for any article.
Well, it was a great article. It talked about the 27 common objections that agents were handling. And, you know, a lot of us come across objections on a consistent basis. That's part of our real estate career. That's what we basically are founded on. And some of us are maybe newer in the business or maybe haven't heard something. We just don't know how to answer them. So I want to get right into it. I want to start taking it from the top. I want to kind of work our way down this article as far as we can get. We'll go back and forth, have some fun, and, you know, let's talk about our opinions about them. Are these legit objections? Are they not? You know, do people need to take them so seriously? How do they get around them? The whole 9 yards. So you ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely. And I want to open by saying objections are buying signs. So if somebody objects, they're thinking about buying.
That should be going for the dating life as well. You know what, buddy? If she says no, just ask a different way. It's okay. So the number one is you want to list my house for X. That's ridiculous. My neighbor's home sold for Y, and mine should go for at least $50,000 more. Now, Bernice, is
it's mine.
It's mine. I got the prettiest baby. That's why it's going to sell more. So how would you handle that, and what would you say? Because you've trained you were the head trainer for over 4,000 agents at a period of time in California.
Well, I ran the training for 4,000 agents in California, and we had 50 to 70% market share in Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Bel Air. So I had the privilege of working with a lot of people who really knew what they were doing, and that's part of the reason I've got such great scripts, because we were with some of the best people in the country. But on any objection, what happens where we get into trouble, as soon as we start saying, if we start using the word I and we start to explain, you're defending. And that doesn't work very well. So Greg, how would you have answered that script? And then I'll jump in with what I'd recommend.
Something I would say, if they said, well, my house is, you know, selling for, why do you want to list it for this? My neighbor sold for Y. Understand that. Let's take a look at these two different, your home and that property, and let's compare apples to apples and see how they pair up. And then let's take a look at the market conditions for when they sold and when we're selling, so we can understand how we can really evaluate this to make sure that we're pricing it at the perfect price for the home. Now, let me ask you another question. Is selling it for $50,000 more than the price I put out for you the more important, or is it getting it sold in a fast and efficient time frame? What would you say is the most important to you? And then I'd let them talk.
Yeah, I tell you, great response. I would have led with the question, because you're talking a little bit too much, and there are several different ways to tackle that. So first of all, I always want to let them know it's their house and their decision. So I'm not going to tell you where to list your property. I won't say this to them. If they're going to list too high, I'm going to walk out. That really gets their attention. I wish you the best in getting your property sold. But at that point in the conversation, when they said, well, my house should sell for $50,000 more, one of the scripts that most people haven't heard before that I found worked very effectively is this one. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let me try this again. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you probably are aware that, if your property is going to close, that you have to have a qualified buyer. But did you know that your house has to qualify?
No, I didn't know that.
And what you want to do, the key here is the person asking the questions is in control. So that's what I liked about your question, which was very good. But did you know that your house has to qualify? And they're going to look at you like, what do you mean my house has to qualify? And well, over probably about 95% of the buyers have to get a loan. So let's take a look at what other properties in the neighborhood have qualified for with their lenders. So what you're doing now, that has put you into the closed sales. And if you're in a market that's appreciating, those past sales are 3 or 4 months old, but they're lower, but you're getting them to deal with the closed sales. The other thing I like to do, I'm a big fan of WeissAnalytics.com. Okay, and this is the group that wrote the Case-Shiller Index that is used by all the Wall Street and all the big newspapers and sources about what's happening in the industry. Alan Weiss was the CEO of that company, and he has taken what Weiss Analytics has done. Instead of just looking at metropolitan areas like LA or New York or Miami, those 20 metros that they look at, he has taken it down now to the individual house. And you can actually see how that house compares, how your house compares with that neighbor's house. You can do that comparison. So what I'd like to do, I like what you said, Greg, kick it up a notch with Weiss Analytics, put those two houses together and see what's predicted. And that way I don't have to defend my position, because when they see something online, they're more likely to believe it.
Yeah. Whoops. I'm not okay. I thought I was muted still. I'm like, oh my gosh. As you were talking, I was diving in. I'm like, wow, I want to take a look at this Weiss Analytics thing. This is a gold mine. It is. That's why. So recently, it's something stupid. But I've been, hunting for the right coffee pot. Something very benign, right? But I hunted and I bought this coffee pot a couple of weeks ago and had all the reviews, and it looked really good. Like 6,000 reviews, like 4.5 stars. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get it. I got it. Total letdown, right? Didn't do its job, but I believed what I read online from 6,000 other people. Now, what I ultimately went and did is I went and bought a Mr. Coffee right in the other room. Happiest damn day of my freaking life. But the thing is that I believed in their research diligently online, and that's why people believe what Zillow says. That's why people believe third-party reviews, because they want to be a part of that clan, that tribe, that are going to be a part, that are believing in that one thing. So I think if you can show them to be a part of your tribe using Weiss Analytics or any other potential software out there, I believe that you can woo them in. And I loved how I didn't feel sold at all when you were talking to me. I felt very calm. I felt educated. Oh my gosh, she's bringing something new to my light, into my life. I loved how you handled that.
No, thank you. Well, let's address the Zillow objection, because that's one, I can't tell how many columns I've done on Zillow says my house is worth more.
Yeah. I want to shoot people, throat punch people with that stuff. It's just a dumb comment.
One of the biggest objections out there that consumers use with us all the time. So, Greg, how would you answer it?
I actually go in to tell a story. I said, you know what? I said Zillow is a great place to start, but let me tell you a story. Did you know when the president, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the CEO,
they don't know the difference. The CEO, when he sold his house, his evaluation was 61% off of what the true value was. They actually have it in their disclaimers that it is a guesstimate on what the value is, because they can't see inside your walls. They see 4 walls and a roof, and that's where they end. So they're just doing broad comparisons. That's why you hire a professional, someone like myself or anyone else that you trust, that we can come in, we can run real numbers, and give you real-time information. If that's something you're interested in, great. If you want to rely on Zillow, that's totally fine, but I might not be the right agent for you if you feel that that's going to be your final price. And then I let them talk. But I do the pullback method on that, because I'm not going to be yanked around like a dog on a chain. I'm just not going to do it. I just can't.
Gene, let me ask you something. Who was that? Who was Greg talking about in that particular response?
The CEO of Zillow?
I have a feeling Bernice knows. This is the evil laugh. She knows something.
We're like, I'm getting that sense
no,
too.
Okay, but you went into explanation defense mode, and you didn't ask a question to lead with. And
you on the show.
Yes, I know. Well, and that's an effective way. But again, I like short, sweet, simple scripts that you can use very easily, and that I don't have to explain it. Everything you said was true, but they kind of glaze over when you start talking about. I mean, the example you gave is great. Rich Barton, the CEO, his own valuation on his own website was off by 61%. That's a great piece of data. So, and I think let me weave that into the story because I like it upgrades the script that I had. So I'd be asking, did you know that, Rich Barton is the CEO of Zillow, and on his own property, his Zillow assessment was off by 67%. So that's, yeah. So, and then you just, that sets that little seed of doubt. But now you want to, now you took it to explaining what you're going to do. So what I would do, Zillow is an AVM. Did you know that there are at least 5 other places that you can get an AVM estimate of your property? So let's take a look at those. There's Zillow, there's Realtor.com, there's HomeSnap. I can give you an estimate. There are a couple of other ones out there that I'm not recalling off the top of my head. But what I would say at that point, and you show them each one, and when I've done that on my own property, sometimes the valuations are off even on a property that's, say if it's $500,000, they could be off $100,000. So then you ask the question, here are the valuations, you're given the facts, given the Weiss Analytics valuation, and ask them which one is right. Well, let's take a look at the Let's take a look at the CMA, and then we can make a decision. The great thing about the Weiss Analytics, when they bring that up, you can plug in this estimate, you can plug in Realtor.com, you can plug in HomeSnap, you can plug in your CMA, you can plug in an appraisal. Yeah, that's the thing I love about this. So it takes care of that objection because you can plug that right in. By the way, that site I believe is $399 a year to use. So
$400 a year, basically.
Yeah, $400 a year. That's nothing. One deal alone will cover that.
Shoot, a quarter of one deal will cover that. Gene,
would you spell that website out for people?
Yeah, to yes, it's WEISS Analytics, WeissAnalytics.com.
Awesome. Yeah, because I know Greg will throw that in. Because when I was thinking about it, I wasn't sure if it was WIZE, WISE, that type of thing. So, I like the question aspect of it. I think, and I think what you were just saying too is important for. The way you phrase the question establishes your expertise, I think. And for me, when somebody says to me, yeah, well, Zillow says, that immediately lets me know that they're not sure why I'm sitting in front of them yet. Because they're taking incorrect data when I'm the one that's able to provide the data, the real data, and the expertise to them. Right. And I think you got to prove that up front. And I would be way snarkier, obviously, than you are, which is probably why I'm not a real estate agent, because I would get walked out of everybody's house probably. But that part of it is huge. And I also think the other thing you said too was, does your house qualify? I go back to an example. We were going to buy a condo about a year and a half before we got married, and the asking price was $42,000, and it was just down the shore down here from us. It was going to be a second little getaway, small little place with a pool right off the beach, and the lady wanted 42 for it. We agreed to 42, and everything was ready to go. We put the deposit down, had the bank come out, they appraised it, and they appraised it at 36, and she said, well, then you need to come up with another $6,000. And I said, sorry, no can do. And so through that learning process, I started to realize that it didn't matter what she wanted for it. It was a matter of if I was going to be able to qualify for a loan for what she wanted for it. And I think I know that because I went through that process. And I think a lot of people miss on the fact that, well, I want $50,000 more for my house, even though it's probably not worth it. Well, that's great, Greg. And we might be able to get that. And I really want to get that because, honestly, I make more commission and you make more money. So I'm okay with that. But the reality of it is that you're probably going to pay mortgage payments for another 9 months on this while we discuss lowering the price because you're out of range and the bank is not going to give the buyer a loan on it.
You're still defending.
No, I totally agree with you. Yes.
Yeah,
and I would be defending most of the time, which is, again, probably why I'm not in the real estate field.
Well, most agents do. We haven't been trained how to do this, and asking questions is so powerful. So I have a question for you, Gene, or for Greg, either one. Did you know that the real estate market's like the stock market? If if you pay, and this is one of the objections we hear. Well, I paid X dollars and I have to get this because I paid, say, 300,000 and I need to get another 50 because I've done all these improvements. So I need to get 350 and the market's at, say, 280. So the question is, did you know that the real estate market's like the stock market? And
no.
If you paid $100 a share for IBM and today it's trading at $80, you have two choices. You can either sell it at today's prices or wait for the market to improve.
Right.
I want to go back and rewatch my own show and just write down all your scripts because I don't have something in front of me to write down. But this is such gold to really kind of understand and get behind because your entire presentation of these objection handlers, it's so calming and it should deflate any anger or resentment or hostility in a buyer or a seller, any ego, just by like, hey, did you know this? Like, hey, I can take it or leave it, but did you know? I love these objections. I love your attitude on this stuff. It is absolutely amazing.
Well, it's, I'm in something that you call charge neutral. So I'm speaking kind of in a normal voice. I'm asking questions and I'm in a conversation. And one of the things that, we've talked about having to defend when you're, answering scripts. But one of the things that you can do is you can use your buyer's interview to set up their closing, and you can get a lot of this stuff handled ahead of time, because if you sit down and go through what they're looking for, what their lifestyle is like, where they work, the things that matter to them, how they spend their time in each room of the house, what they've loved in the houses that they've lived in the past, what they don't want. And by the way, the expression buyers are liars. That is, they really aren't. We're not asking the right question, because when we ask, what do you want? Well, they're going to answer from up here in the cerebral cortex. They're going to give you their intellectual answer. So let's say, I want a contemporary house with, high ceilings, mid-century modern, and I buy a Cape Cod with a white picket fence. Well, one of the ways to get at what they will buy is to ask them about their favorite house from their childhood.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So tell me about your favorite house from your childhood, and what about it did you really love? And I learned this on my very first buyer deal when I was in my 20s. So that tells you it was decades ago. But in any event, so I had 5 properties I was going to show these buyers, young couple, really lovely. And there was 2 properties that were just stellar. There was another one that was good. There was one that was not so good. And then there was the dog. And you know which one they bought?
The dog.
They bought the dog. And the reason? It reminds me of my grandmother's house.
Oh, God. So the grandma lived like a bum? I mean, that's what they're saying? It is true. When people say buyers are liars, I chuckle. I'm like, ha, ha, ha. That's actually not true. And I answered a little slightly different than you, but same concept of like, you know what? They just don't know what they want. Because again, you answered it much more smoothly. Like they answer it from the cerebral cortex. They don't answer it from their heart or from their emotions. And I think as soon as they get around that, have you seen have you seen buyers in your past, like their walls come down over time and they're more pliable and they'll open up to you more, and then you guys can work more as a cohesive unit versus just like them versus you, like we're going to get this done, but we're not going to let anyone know what we really want, kind of a thing, right?
Well, I think the way that you're approaching it is the correct way, because they don't know, or they're going to tell you that they want is up here, which is intellectual, but that emotional question that goes back to their childhood, we have, I have a background in psychology. We have these things called, and this comes from neurolinguistic programming. We have these anchors that, that are established in childhood. So like if you wave your hands above your head, look at the ceiling, they'll make, normally get a smile on your face because when you were little, you didn't have a horrible mother, she'd pick you up and take care of you. And if my team scores, I've got my arms in the air and dancing, so there are all these things with arms up. That is anchored as a good feeling. So if you're having a bad day, you can go up like that. But people have anchors in childhood about the houses they like. And they're not even aware they're there, but ask them about that, that childhood house. That's a great way to get a feel for what they probably will buy. And you don't have to let them know what you're doing, but that's something that definitely take a look at.
So you can pose it as pretty much like you know what, Bernice? Help me find your perfect house. What was your favorite house growing up? Because it sounds like it's totally off the cuff and it's totally random, and it also allows you to get to know them a little bit more too. So I think it's just I love it. What if they come across with something completely wackadoodle? Like, my grandma lived in a mansion up in Montecito. Oh shit! Well, you're looking for a one-bedroom condo, kid.
Oh well, now let me tell you something that we used to train. This was back in the 1990s. So one of my regional trainers had this idea, which I thought was an interesting one. So what she did, she got these fake $1 million bills. Then you can order them online.
Oh yeah.
And she would say, imagine that you've just won the lottery for $10 million, and she peeled off 10 of these 10 fake $1 million bills. Tell me about the house you will buy. And I've done this repeatedly over the years, and especially I've done it with agents in training classes. And they can't get out of their mindset. So you want, it's like they're still thinking small when you want them to think big. But ask them, okay, so tell me, what does the house look like when you're driving up to it? What is the yard like? What is the front like? So if I get someone who's describing light and airy and, and they're giving me a lot of visual cues, then I know if I'm selling them, a $200,000 condo, I'm not going to put them in a condo that's looking out on the building next door. I'm going to be looking for something where they can look out on, and have kind of view, or it's got high ceilings where they're not going to feel hemmed in when they're living there. So I'm listening for the themes, and then I can translate those. But they'll tell you, they're going to give you some pretty good, they'll say they want an open floor plan, or they'll say that, they want a kitchen where they, and they've got a center island that they can eat at that island. They can have friends there, drinks there. But get them describing their lifestyles. So that's one of the key points.
That's an interesting twist on that one. I like that a lot. It's just I play when I was single. I would play a game. We went on first dates, and it would be 5, 5, and 5. And I would say, okay. And this is a thing that I think a lot of people don't. I think a lot of us just are conditioned to think small in all things in life. And so I would do, and this is a great conversation. I mean, shit, if you're anybody, you can have this conversation with. Here's the 5, 5, and 5. Congratulations, Bernice. You are the inventor of air. Everything that moves uses your product. You're a quadrillionaire. I mean, money is absolutely no object whatsoever. So I want you to pick 5 homes, 5 modes of vehicles, and 5 businesses you'd want to be involved in. And I always say, look, if you want a platinum diamond encrusted, aircraft carrier as your weekend yacht, fine. If you want a train to the moon, fine. Whatever. Just give me 5, each of those 5. And it, like you're doing, it just unlocks their brains to think at a bigger level, at a different playing field. And once people kind of get the hang of it, I mean, I had some people tell me, I just get a bike and live on the beach. I'm like, oh man, you're fucking this up. You're not thinking big at all. You're thinking like a teenager. Think like a grown person. Let's go have fun. So, anyways, my dad actually had those $1 million bills, by the way, and he had his name on them.
Oh, I told you it dated back a while, so.
Yeah, they were green, and he had $1 million, or he had $1,000, because he would donate $1,000 to, this is how old it was, to the school of their choice's computer lab. Yeah, think about that one.
Cutting edge.
Cutting edge. This is an objection I hear, and this one always cracks me up because people get so stumped on this, but it is such an easy objection that sometimes people don't even see it. So it's, my friend got a great deal on a foreclosure, so I really want to look at foreclosures. And I immediately, I just turn to him very calmly. I say, interesting. Do you really want to buy a foreclosure, or do you just want to get a good deal? 100% of the time, it's I just want to get a good deal, and then we move forward.
Great question, and perfect. That's a perfect example right there. Yes, you nailed it.
Yes, I did it.
Yes,
I got a gold star.
You got the question.
Ding.
Yes.
But I mean, Bernice, how would you handle this? Is there any tweaks, or Gene, I want to hear your take on this as well. Kind of, how would you guys handle that? As well.
Exact for me, the way that you handled it was perfect because I would have reframed it. And this notion of reframing is changing. They're saying, I want to get a good deal. What do you really want, a good deal, or do you want to get the best possible? Do you really want a foreclosure, or do you want to get the best possible price on a property?
Yeah. And did you know that foreclosures can take up to 6 or plus months to close, and you buy them sight unseen, and there's unknown elements that could be involved that we don't know? It's like buying a car you've never seen before that's lived by the ocean and expecting no rust. Are you kidding me? There's going to be a problem here, people. Gene, what would you do with this?
I associate foreclosures with a lot of work. So I think if I was going to use Bernice's tactics and spin it into a question, I would say, are you looking for a good deal, or are you trying to get a fixer-upper that you might have to live in one room for the next 9 months?
Oh, Gene, I love that. I love that. Fantastic response. That is what you call a turn up the pain close.
Nice.
Oh, I actually, Gene.
Yeah, no, and those are dynamite. That is.
I'm using Gene's close now because when you did that close, Gene, I immediately felt inside of me like, ugh, I don't want that. I just want to get a good deal.
Yep, right.
Bye. I don't want this foreclosure bullshit. I got to go. So good job, Gene. I like it.
Gene. Yeah, no, that was a killer. That was a killer response. And yes.
Bernice, now I want to hear your response on this one because this one always irritates me to some degree, and I just want to throat punch somebody because it just irks me at the lowest levels. And so it's this: I need to talk to multiple friends and relatives before I make a decision. My backbone just quivered.
And so if that's what they want to do, then there are a couple of different ways of coming at this. Ideally, I'm going to go back to the buyer's interview. One of the questions I always ask is, who else will be involved in the decision-making process? Mm-hmm. And you need to find that out right at the beginning. And
yes.
then get them involved. And I, just say, when you find a house you like, would you like us to send pictures to? Do you want them to come out and see it? So that way they are, they are getting them involved. Now, on the other side of the coin, if you're in a situation where properties are flying off the shelves, you're in the lower end of the market where there is virtually no inventory, nationally, mm-hmm. then it's they're not going to have that option. So sometimes they just have. My husband has an expression he likes to use. Sometimes you have to let them have their experience.
So true.
So, I would want to bring them into doing the showings, and it might sound something like this. At the buyer's interview, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, because the price range that you're looking in is one where we're seeing a lot of multiple offers, you're probably going to have to react quickly if you want to get the house. Do you want to invite the people that you want to involve in the decision-making process when we look at property? And if so, will they be available to see something very quickly if it's the right property at the right price?
It's like we said before. It's all about the setup. It's about letting everybody know who's on first, what's on second. Everybody understands what role everybody's going to be playing. One of the ones that cracks me up is I had a young gal a number of years ago. She was buying a house, and her dad was the money behind it, and thank God he was super cool. But I mean, when we'd go out and look at houses, and then she'd have to bring him back because Dino couldn't come out and see the houses when we were seeing them. But we all knew what the role was going to be, so I knew we were going to have to go back out and see second homes a second time. So it wasn't that bad. But if she just sprung it on me and like, oh, by the way, my daddy poo needs to approve everything that I do, I'd be like, oh, dang it, I shouldn't have asked that question.
Yeah, do the buyer's interview. That is, that's the best way to circumvent this. And a lot of times, especially with young people, there's a parent probably that maybe has some money in the deal, and they'll want to control what's going on. And they'll be, if you're trying to do any kind of manipulation on their child, you're going to get so much pushback. So one of the things that I always love to say, it's your house and it's your decision.
It's true. Mm-hmm. It is their decision. Okay.
Wait, no. Before we get into that, let me try something.
Cool.
I want to take it outside the box a little bit and see what Bernice's reaction to this would be. Oh. So that objection is not just real estate specific. That's obviously in any kind of sales. If you're a car salesman, people are like, I got to talk to my wife first, right? So in a real estate scenario, I'm wondering, I think my initial reaction was to say something like this. Well, why don't you tell me what those questions are that you're going to ask your other folks first? I can give you those answers right here, and then you can fact check me with your people. So I get two things out of it. They know I'm not full of crap, because when they go back to their dad, and their dad says, no, he's right, you got to CMAs or whatever it ends up being that I answered. And I also can get a feel for if they're serious or if they're just pushing me off, because I don't really have any questions, versus these are the three things that I'm going to have to ask my dad, or these are the three things I'm going to have to ask my wife. Well, I'll answer those for you up front. Take the answers to them, and we're building trust from that point on as well. What do you think about that outside the box?
My husband's, if you say that to my husband, he would think you're nuts, because checking with his wife, 95% of the time, his wife is the one who's going to make the decision.
I believe you.
No, that's what the numbers are. Women make the decision about 95% of the time.
For sure.
And you were in the I mode about what you're putting me in the place that trusted expert or that trusted voice that they have. So again, when you're showing property, if you cannot get both, you say you're dealing with a couple, if you can't get both, partners or spouses in that couple out to look at property, then you're not going to be able to sell them. And if they're not, if they're not serious, then if one of them lives in town and one doesn't, but then use your video, go in and shoot pictures, do the 3D tours, let them see that, get them involved if they physically can't be there. It's not like it used to be where we've got 2D pictures that are not very good. We now have the ability to have them walk through that property right now and essentially experience it in terms of what it's really like.
Yeah. Technology has come a long ways, and Van is watching us along on the live show here. He put in another great script that I think that I've used a lot as well, and guys, give me your thoughts on it. It's like, Bernice, if I understand you and your husband want to combine thoughts and come back and talk to me tomorrow about what you guys want to do, but how would it make you feel if I had to call you tomorrow and let you know that it already sold to someone else? Would you be upset with me, or would you be okay with that, with losing that house?
And that's a great question. And I really, that is a fantastic question. So, and I want to tie that now to what happens with multiple offers, because what you've done is just given the strategy for that. When you first start working with a buyer, if you are in a market, they're in a price range where there are multiple offers, and what you need to do is have this conversation right up front, and that's how you're going to handle the multiple offers. So, Greg, say that you're my buyer. Greg, I'd like to ask you right now, when you're not on, there's no pressure, we haven't found the right house, and we find a house and we discover that there's 3 other offers on it, and you really want this house. How would you like me to negotiate on your behalf? You can go ahead and put an offer in as if there's no other offers. You could write an offer that's a very good offer. If you really want the house, you may want to offer full price. If you're going to be devastated if you don't get this house, then you'll probably need to offer over asking price. How would you like me to negotiate on your behalf?
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It gives me the options. He makes me puts it in my court, so I can't come back and yell at you, Bernice, you SOB, how'd you lose my house? Why didn't you work harder? It's like, dude, you told me you didn't really want it. I mean, what do you want me to do here, pal?
That's the takeaway that you just said there, Greg, is that you do not, it's like you want to put them in charge. And one of the reasons a lot of people use the word we when we find the right property and when we write an offer and when something goes wrong, we get to pay, or when someone sues us, we get sued. So it's their house, it's their decision. How would you like me to negotiate on your behalf? I am a conduit of information to help you make the best decision possible about the property that you're going to buy. But it's your house, it's your decision. So I'm resourcing, I'm essentially sources of information.
So a number of years ago, I was working with a buyer. I was fairly frustrated, to put it mildly, and the buyers were ho-humming over a house, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what we should do. We really like it. We want to put an offer in." And I had literally had it up to here with them, and I said, "Okay, well," and I something kind of snapped in me. I'm like, "Okay, well, do you want to try to buy the house, or you just want to buy the damn thing?" And people, they're like, "We just want to buy the damn thing." I'm like, "Okay, let's go put an offer in, man. Jeez." And that script has worked like a charm ever since. And
I love that.
People are just like, "I just want to buy the damn thing." Oh, okay, cool. Well, let's stop running around the bush. Let's go in there and get the dang thing. But it was one of those things that I just made it up because I was frustrated. I wasn't trying to be rude, but I was just over running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and it worked. And I had another gentleman that he's been using that script as well, who's watched our show for a long time. He says he uses it all the time. It works like a charm again. It's just awesome.
That's a great script. One of the things that you can do when, part of how I keep coming back to the buyer interview right here because, you set up so much in that. But one of the things that I like to do is say, okay, I want you to, list all the things that you want in your house. What are the things? And then you want them to prioritize them. And then, I used to work for a guy named John Douglas. He ran the company. He was the founder of the company that I worked for. And he used to say there's no such thing as 100% house. And of course, there's a corollary. There's no such thing as 100% spouse either. So which set of warts are you willing to live with? But what I do is like, okay, what are your top 5 things that you absolutely must have in the property that you're going to buy? And then what you have to watch for, you're going to get scope creep, because what they'll want to do is they'll want to add 6 or 7, and you'll say, okay, which one of these do you want to drop off? So if you find, all 5 characteristics in one house, including, I imagine one of those is going to be price, then let's put an offer in. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with them what's available. We'll say, which house do you want to see first? Let them, go through the MLS with them, or go through, if they've got ones they want to see, or tell other, and then say, okay, of all the properties that are in the marketplace, these are the 5 that are the best fit for your criteria. Okay, now they see those 5, well, we don't know. Well, then let's look at the next 5, because then you will have seen the 10 that are the best, that are the closest to what you're looking for. And at that point, there's not something that's going to be a better fit. Now, one of the things they may come back with is, well, there could be another one. Well, there's always going to be another one, but I don't need to get snappy with them. But what I'm going after there is, once we've seen those top 10, if you're going to purchase now, these are the best fit. Now, Greg, I've got a question. Go ahead. It looks like you had a question for me.
Well, I liked how you just kind of you threw it back on them a little bit, because you've done your job as a professional. You provided what they were looking for. If they're still ho-humming, it was such a slight backhand that like most people probably didn't get it, but I caught it. I'm like, oh damn, like she's ninja over there. But you're just like, if you were to buy right now, like this is what your options are, pal. Like, do you want to do this now, or you can do it later? But it's like you did it so calmly that it felt like I was like, oh, okay, well, shit, these are my options. I got to buy something, so I'll pick option 4, right? But anyways, I interrupt. Continue.
Well, I think, your point's well taken there. The one here, here's one of my favorite ones. Well, we've looked at all the houses in this area, but and they're looking at, and this happens with open house. I don't know if you've seen this, but I've observed it over the years, that as a rule of thumb, when people are looking at open houses, they have a tendency to look at things that are about 50% more than they can afford. Have you bumped into that?
Mm-hmm.
You got, say you've got a listing for, say for 300, and you've got people coming in that are in the 220 to 250 range.
Ugh, people, what the heck? Yeah, no, we see that a lot over in the peninsula. I mean, but it's just the way they do business over there. So like they'll price a house at 800,000, and the thing's gonna go for like 1.5. It's just it's an insanity move. Here I actually heard this next objection on another show the other day, and I came a little bit unglued on it just because it's something that people should know the answer to, but for some reason they're afraid to talk to buyers about it, or they're afraid they're going to lose them over this. And it's the fact like, hey, I just want to work with the listing agent. So I have my response, Bernice. I want to see what yours is on that one.
Well, let me hear yours first. That is one that my editor at Inman asked. They're running something over on Facebook right now asking for the response for that question.
Oh, seriously?
So, yeah, they want to do an article on it. So if you've got a good answer, then you need to go post. I didn't want to send mine to my editor because I think she would use it. So I want to save it for my article that I'm going to do. So while your script blocked, that'll be probably, I'm hoping that'll probably run. Well, I don't know where it's going to run the queue yet. So
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So what I tell them is I say, okay, I can totally understand that how you'd want to do that. But did you know that the buyer and the seller and that listing agent have signed a fiduciary relationship document stating the fact that agent has to get the highest and best offer and terms for them. So in essence, you'll be working against yourself because they signed a legal document. My job as a buyer's agent, I'll sign the same, buyer agreement, the buyer representation agreement, which is a fiduciary legal binding document to get the lowest and best terms for you. Doesn't that make more sense than fighting the legal document they've already signed? And people were just like, I didn't know that. I'm like,
great answer. Mine wasn't as detailed as yours, but and I love to do I love to do the reframe on this. So here's what I would say. I guess I don't know if we lost Greg. There you are down the corner. Anyway, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I assume that you want to get the best possible price with the best possible terms. Is that correct? And
yes.
They're normally going to say yes. And then you want to follow up by saying, so then how do you believe the listing agent will be able to help you achieve that goal? And I like your phrasing, when they've signed a legal document that says they have a fiduciary duty to the seller to get the highest possible price at the best possible terms for that seller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How are you going to fight that? I mean, it's like, oh, okay. And again, it comes down to just the lack of knowledge in the general public. It's not their fault for wanting to go work with the listing agent. I mean, what do they see on TV all the time? Buyers go to the listing agent. They work with the listing agent. They just could be common knowledge amongst normal folks that aren't in the real estate business on a day-to-day basis. So it's education. It comes down to education. Buyers aren't liars. They're just confused. They don't know what they're doing. They also don't know the protocol, And it's a very simple education, and I think that, Bernice, I want to quickly give a shout out, so we're going to wrap this thing up here in a second, but where can they find you, before we wrap it up, where can they go get some education if they want to just sit at the mistress's feet and learn all the knowledge that you possess? Where do they go?
Well, visit our site at realestatecoach.com, and we have actually posted a new agent sales training program, but I ended up writing that thing with a few exceptions, that it is really like a very experienced agent. It's got some stuff for new agents in it that says, well, if you're a new agent, you do this. But these scripts and strategies are in there. There's marketing on, about how to establish your brand, how to niche your business, how to overcome these objections. We have an 18-point marketing plan that I use with sellers. I wrote a book called Waging War on Real Estate Discounters back in 2005 that continues to sell copies. It's sold over 38,000 copies now, but go to Real Estate Coach and check that out. I would say I've had a lot of people who've been trainers who's, they listen to our training and they go, wow, I learned so much from that. And these people have been in the business for 20 years or more in many cases. So again, it's just taking that fresh look. And for people who are experienced, we come back to what happens is we come back, we forget the basics. And sometimes it's just good to do a basics review. But anyway, that program is so advanced that it would be okay. And we have a money back guarantee. If you're not happy, it's $3.95. Do sign up for my newsletter at Real Estate Coach. That's free every week. And we always have good information in that for you as well. So thank you for asking. And for the brokers who are listening, visit our site at Brokerage Up. That's brokerageup.com. We have the best recruiting training, 24 hours with interviews with 10 women who've recruited 3,000 agents between the 10 of them. So that's pretty impressive. Yes. And we have something called Office Meeting in a Box that we offer there too. So that's 52 weeks of office meetings. So that's my commercial. Blah, blah.
Wow. Jeez. I feel that we could keep going, and that's a lot of stuff. Gene, where can people reach you, my bald friend?
As always, GeneVolpe.com. When you get out there, there will be a little widget that pops up. Put your information in there, and I'll reach out to you.
Good. I love it. Guys, for me, let's do a free hour of coaching with me. Come on in to let's hang out together. Go ahead and just text me on my cell phone. It's very simple. 925-915-1978, like the year. So 925-915-1978. Okay, Bernice, Gene, I want to close out with one last question. So we can either pick between another agent said they could get us more money, or we're not ready to list yet because we'd like to find a new home first. Which one would you guys like to tackle?
You choose.
Ooh, they're both so good.
Do the first one. More money.
The first one? Another agent to get more money?
Yeah.
Okay. Bernice, how would you handle that when the agent says, someone says to you, Bernice, Bob from RE/MAX, we know how well we think about Bob from RE/MAX. He said he can get us more money. What would your response be?
And this is a Mike Ferry script. A lot of agents will say that they can get a lot more money for you, but the question is, do you want to be listed or do you want to be sold?
Oh my God, that's awesome. It reminds me of another great script. You know what? I know a lot of agents that pride themselves on listing homes. We pride ourselves on selling homes. Which one would you like?
Yes, beautiful, nice. Beautiful.
That's a good one.
And actually, the other day, another one that a lot of people talk about. I know we're going to do one question, but whatever, it's my show. We're going to do two. Well, how do they handle commission objections? And I actually was talking with a gentleman yesterday about this, and I've told people I do it a lot, and it's so simple to handle this and say, well, Greg, how much is the commission? I just very slowly say, well, my team, we charge 2.5%. Then we come together as a team and we can decide on what we want to pay the other agents. What would you like to do? Typically, it's about 2.5%. And I keep it at that. I don't say a larger number like 5 or 6%. I say 2.5 and 2.5 because in their subconscious brain, they're just here 2.5. That's where their comfort level is.
Yeah, that's a problem. So, okay, so they call up on the phone. They say, they're asking you, how much do you charge in commission? You answer the question, they're going to go click. So what you want to do is ask another question. So, and it's one that we've talked about already. So, Greg, are you more interested in the amount of commission that you're going to pay, or are you more interested in how much you will net when the transaction closes?
Well, I want to make more money.
Then let me show you how my 18-point marketing plan will help you get the maximum exposure that results in the maximum price for your property, and then close for the appointment.
Damn it, Bernice. You make me look stupid.
I've just been doing this for a long time, and I had a lot of good people who helped me learn these things. So it's serious. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, like you were saying, and I love there's such small tweaks, but they make such a massive difference in your outcome and how you're perceived and everything else. And it's just what an honor and a treat. We're going to wrap it up here, guys. Bernice, quick website where they can find you one more time. realestatecoach.com or brokerageup.com. So if you're an agent, go to realestatecoach.com. If you're a broker, check out brokerageup.com.
Gene Volpe, tell them where they can go one more time to find your evil baldness.
You just said it, added .com on there, genevolpe.com.
Guys, he's the man, the myth, the legend of all things marketing. He's also a gentleman and a scholar. If you want to be in good company, go hang out with him. You guys, what are you going to say, Gene?
No, thank you, buddy. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, you're welcome, Schnuggles. Guys, free coaching for me. Let's do an hour. Let's get to hang out together. 925, 915, 1978. And, Gene, you need to pick the bow on this show.
Let's go with red.
Red bow. All right, guys, here's a red bow wrapped on this show. This has been another amazing opportunity to learn from just an incredibly knowledgeable and just sweet-hearted, kind, knowledgeable human being, Bernice Ross. Thank you for spending your time with us. It is amazing. Guys, go rate the show. A 5-star would be amazing on iTunes or Stitcher. Give Bernice a shout-out if you liked her content. If you didn't, don't ever watch my show again. No, I'm kidding. Come back. I love you all. But until next time, guys, you know I love you. Until then, peace out, ninjas. We gone.